Okay, I want you to picture this for a second. You're standing on top of a lonely tower. The wind is just whipping around you. And as you look out, the world feels, well, it feels huge, but also like it doesn't really care you're there. That exact feeling, that's what a 7th century poet named Chen Ziang managed to bottle up in a timeless masterpiece. Today we're diving deep into his poem Song on Youzhou Tower. And trust me, it's a journey into what it means to feel truly alone in the universe. It all builds to this one single, gut-wrenching moment. A man, high above everything, so overwhelmed by a sense of solitude that he just breaks. This is the raw emotion we're going to unpack today. It's the final line, and it gives the whole poem this incredible, lasting power. But to really feel the weight of this poem, you have to get to know the man who wrote it. So let's talk about Chen Ziang. This guy was a real powerhouse in Tang, China. He was brilliant, a scholar, and an official whose big ambition wasn't to get rich or famous, but to actually serve his country, to use his talents for the state, under the pretty formidable Empress Wu Zetian. The thing is, his career was just this constant uphill battle. It was one disappointment after another. He'd come up with these fantastic, insightful proposals for how to make things better, and they just get shot down. At one point, he was even thrown in jail for basically no good reason. His last shot, he thought, was joining a military campaign as an advisor. But the commander, this guy Wu Yuhe, was, well, let's just say he wasn't interested in good advice. He didn't just ignore Chen Ziang, he actually demoted him out of spite. And that was the final straw. And that crushing moment, that complete defeat, brings us to a specific day in the year 697. Just try to put yourself in his shoes. Chen Ziang, feeling totally humiliated, his hopes completely shattered, starts climbing the stairs of this old, high tower in a place called Youzhou. It's near where Beijing is today. He gets to the top, he looks out at this vast landscape, and all that frustration, all that bitterness, just boils down into 4 perfect lines of poetry. And the irony of where he's standing is just heartbreaking, really. This Youzhou Tower, it was built on the site of something called the Golden Stage. Centuries earlier, a king had built this stage for one single reason: to find and to celebrate the most talented people in the land. So there Chen Ziang stands, on a monument built to honor genius, feeling completely and utterly invisible. So, let's really experience this poem the way he must have felt it. What we'll do is I'll recite each line for you, first in the original Chinese so you can really hear the music in the language, and then I'll give you the English interpretation. All right, let's start with the very first line. Listen. 前不见古人, which means, before me, I see no ancients. Okay, so that word, ancients, is doing some really heavy lifting here. Chen Ziang isn't just talking about, people who lived a long time ago. He's talking about the legendary wise kings, the kind of enlightened leaders who could actually recognize and value real talent. Men just like the king who built the golden stage he's standing on. He's literally looking back through all of history for someone who would have understood him, and he finds nothing, just emptiness. And then comes the second line, 后不见来者. In English, behind me I see no one to come. And just like that, the future closes in on him too. If the past offered no comfort, what about the future? Well, there's no hope there either. He's looking ahead, searching for anyone who might someday get what he was trying to do, who might appreciate his work. And again, nothing. He's completely cut off, like a tiny island lost in the river of time. Now for the third line. This is where the poem's perspective just explodes outwards. Listen to the sound of it. 念天地之悠悠. That yo-yo sound, it just stretches on, giving you this feeling of absolute endlessness. I think of the vastness of heaven and earth. This is such a stunning shift. He's been lost in human history, right? And now he just lifts his eyes up from that timeline and looks at the entire cosmos. He's thinking about the sheer scale of the universe, heaven and earth, endless and totally impartial. And suddenly, his own personal sadness, his own short life, is set against this eternal, infinite backdrop. That feeling of being small and alone, it just got magnified to a cosmic scale. And that leads us to the final line, which brings it all crashing back down to one man, in one moment of pure sorrow. 独怆然而涕下. Alone, my tears fall. And there it is. That's the breaking point. After he's wrestled with his place in time, his place in the universe, the sheer intellectual weight of that loneliness is just too much to bear. So what's left? the most human response possible. He weeps. That giant cosmic anguish becomes something real, something physical. It's the only thing left to do. So, a poem that came from this one moment of intense personal crisis has managed to stick around, to connect with people for more than 1,300 years. What is it about these few short lines that speak so deeply to us, even now? Well, it's because it taps into something that every single one of us feels at some point. Sure, on the surface, it's about a very specific thing, the genius who nobody listens to. But the feeling underneath that, that's the universal fear of being misunderstood, a feeling completely alone. I mean, who hasn't felt like no one is hearing them? Who hasn't looked up at a clear night sky and just felt incredibly small and wondered, what is my place in all this? Chen Ziang just gave that feeling a perfect voice. And this poem isn't just an emotional masterpiece. It's a huge deal in the history of poetry itself. Back then, a lot of poetry was very fancy, very delicate, all about life at court. Chen Ziang was pushing back against that. He wanted to bring back an older style known as the Han-Wei wind and bone, a style that was all about strength, raw power, and big ideas. This poem is the ultimate example of that. It's like a mini revolution that really helped clear the way for the absolute titans of Tang poetry, guys like Li Bai and Du Fu. It's amazing, isn't it? In his darkest moment, feeling totally alone, Chen Ziang created something that has connected people for centuries. And it kind of leaves us with a question to think about. In our world, which is so full of constant noise and connection, where's our Youzhou Tower? Where do we go to get that quiet space to just think about our own place in the grand scheme of things? We really hope this little journey has given you a fresh look at the incredible, enduring power of poetry.